If someone had told me a few years ago that I'd become the kind of man who questions everything about his marriage, I wouldn't have believed them. I was the guy who loved his wife more than anything, who would have done anything to make her happy. But life doesn't always turn out the way you think it will. Sometimes you lose yourself trying to hold on to something that's slipping away. Emily and I met at a friend's wedding. She was the maid of honor, and I was just a guest, another guy in a suit trying to make small talk. But when I saw her, it was like the world stopped. She had this light about her that drew me in. Her laugh was infectious, and when she smiled at me, it felt like she was sharing something special, just between us. We became inseparable. I proposed to her after a year, under a sky full of stars on a camping trip. Our wedding was everything I'd hoped for. Beautiful, intimate, full of love. I looked into her eyes that day and promised her forever, believing we'd have it. The first couple of years were great. We traveled, made memories, built a life together. I was determined to be the best husband I could be. But then things started to shift, and doubts began to creep in. It started with her work. Emily had always been ambitious, and I loved that about her. But when she began working late more often, first once a week, then twice, then almost every night, I started to feel uneasy. She told me it was a big project, something that required her full attention. I tried to be understanding, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. One evening, I decided to surprise her at work with dinner, but when I got to her office, it was dark. The receptionist told me she'd left hours ago. Confusion and anger bubbled up inside me. I called her, and she answered right away, sounding cheerful. She said she was still at work, finishing up a few things. I didn't tell her I was standing outside her empty office building. Instead, I drove home in silence, feeling the first real crack in my trust. I couldn't let it go. I started noticing other things. How she'd spend more time on her phone, how she'd smile at messages she didn't share with me, how she'd take her phone with her everywhere. One night, I found a receipt in her coat pocket. It was for a dinner at a restaurant we'd never been to together, on a night she'd told me she was out with friends. When I confronted her, she brushed it off, saying she'd grabbed dinner with a coworker. But her casual dismissal, her lack of transparency, started to eat away at me. That's when things began to spiral. I became more suspicious, more on edge. I started questioning her more, accusing her of hiding things. My frustration boiled over into harsh words and accusations. I knew I was being unfair, but I couldn't stop. It was like a switch had been flipped, and all the love I'd once given her was replaced by anger and mistrust. Emily started spending more time out of the house, weekend trips with friends, late nights at work. She said she needed space, that she was feeling smothered. My accusations became more frequent, more biting. I'd tell her she was lying to me. She'd try to defend herself, but it only made me angrier. One night, after another argument, she broke down. She told me that she couldn't do it anymore, that the person I'd become was someone she didn't recognize. She said that my constant suspicion, my verbal attacks, were making her feel insecure, like she was walking on eggshells around me. Hearing her say that broke something in me, but instead of backing down, I doubled down. I told her that if she had nothing to hide, she wouldn't feel that way. That was the night she left. She packed a bag and walked out, leaving me standing in the living room, my anger slowly dissolving into panic. For the first time in months, I was alone with my thoughts, and the full weight of what I'd done hit me. I had pushed her away, had let my doubt and anger destroy the woman I loved, the marriage I had promised to protect. In the months after the divorce, I tried to rebuild myself. I focused on my career, took on new challenges, and started a side business that took off. I reconnected with friends, found joy in the simple things, and slowly began to heal. I learned to forgive myself for the mistakes I had made. Now I'm in a place where I'm proud of who I am. I've rebuilt my life, and I'm more successful, confident, and at peace than ever. I've learned that true strength isn't about holding on to something that's broken. It's about having the courage to let go, to learn from your mistakes, and to create something better. As for Emily, I hope she's found the peace she deserves. I may never be able to undo the hurt I caused her, but I've made my peace with it. All I can do now is move forward, knowing that I've grown from the experience and become a better man because of it.